While you get your sign in hand. These are. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Make it worth more money.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hey, are you good? Okay. All righty. Will you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you very much for attending our meeting this evening. Kay, could you call the roll?
Harold,
Here.
Hollenbaugh,
Here?
Leontis,
Present.
Phipps,
Here.
Robinette,
Here.
Roland,
Here.
Zanfordino.
Here.
Okay. Our minutes from the meeting on September 21st have been distributed for your review prior to this meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Mr. President,
So moved.
Mr. Harold,
I move that we approve the minutes.
okay.
Second.
All right, properly moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Approve, same sign, or opposed, same sign. All right, the minutes are approved. Thank God for small favors. Okay. Correspondence.
Yes, I have a few things this evening. The first thing is budget transfers that were distributed to you prior to the meeting for your approval.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the budget transfers?
So moved.
Okay. Properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the budget transfer? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay,
Okay, and then also distributed to you prior to the meeting was from the Park and Rec Department is a new fee that requires your approval. And so that just takes a motion and a second and then a voice vote, please.
Mr. President,
Ms. Rowland,
I move to approve the fees.
Second.
okay, properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the park fees? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right, motion carries.
And then also received is a petition to vacate an alley from Tamara McCullough and Teresa Ramirez. And that petition, as required, has been staffed to the administrative staff. And the next step is for the council to refer it to the Planning Commission.
Okay, will you please refer the alley vacation to the Planning Commission?
Yes. And that's all I have.
Okay. Do we have anyone signed up for lobby visitations this evening?
Yes. First person is Frank McLaughlin.
Right, if you could please come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
For the record, my name is Frank McLaughlin. I live at 1560 Conneaut, a proud resident of the 4th Ward now. I'm here to speak briefly about a levy for the health department. As you know, as most of you know, I suppose, I was on the health board until last summer, a year ago, last summer in 19. I was the mayoral appointment for the city of Bowling Green. And my last position on the health board was as president of the health board. I've been drafted, just recently been drafted to chair a health levy committee, something that I thought was pretty much going to be an honorary position. Boy, did I find out differently. Isn't that the way it goes? But so what we're looking at is a very modest campaign. We are on the ballot for November 3rd, as you know. This $500,000 renewal, no new money, is very important. It funds about a little over a quarter of the services, and the services, as you probably know, are extensive through the health department. Not only things like food and restaurant inspections, providing nutritional assistance, inspections of septic systems, emergency planning, and of course, health and dental services, which there's a very nice facility that's been opened up here in the last couple of years, especially for dental, which was a crying need for our community. This year has been an unusual year, a remarkable year, but it's particularly for those of us who have an interest in the health of our community. Unfortunately, I think a lot of the emphasis of the health department has been dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. And I think that the recent new hire of the health commissioner has kind of interrupted things too. He's not able to be here. Actually, he's in the process of moving to Bowling Green from Columbus. But I did want to come and just make you aware that this is here, ask for your support. Hopefully you would consider this favorably when asked about it by community members, and make you aware. Okay.
Thank you very much for the information.
Thank you, Mark.
Could we ask a question, Frank?
Hey.
Frank?
Yes.
Neocles here. First, I just want to say that the work that the Health Commission has been doing has been phenomenal, especially with the limited resources. So my main question is this enough given the pandemic and all the things that you listed that you are doing? And I'm especially happy to see you have that new dental clinic, because I've become aware the past year that people on Medicaid have literally nowhere they can go to get dental treatment. And now you are able to provide that. So
That's right.
the services you provide are amazing. So my basic question is, 0.5 mil enough? Did you consider more, or were you afraid? Maybe you don't want to answer, that's fine. But I think we should all be thinking about, given that public health resources across the country are inadequate, and I don't know if that applies also to Wood County, but the response to the pandemic was not what it should have been. And maybe we should be thinking as a community of funding our public health more fully. I'm just throwing that out there for discussion in the coming year. And that's my main point. And again, you don't have to answer that if you don't want to.
Oh, I'll be happy to speak to that. I think that there was some serious consideration given to attempting to maintain this amount probably for obvious reasons when you're looking at any kind of a levy. It appears to be enough at this point in time. And I will say, though, that just to touch on a bit of what you said, Ohio is unfortunately in the bottom 5 in the United States in terms of support for public health. And what it requires is us to come and ask for a levy instead of getting funding from all these other sources. There are numerous pots of money that are available. Fortunately, a great deal of the expenses for the Health and Wellness Center, the FQHC that's been opened up, and the dental clinic has been federal money. It's been obviously very welcome, and there's enhanced Medicaid that goes along with that. But we have found that there is still a need for local funds to supplement some of that cost. A number of the things that the health department does, WIC, for instance, is pretty much covered. There are some other assessments that are done to townships and things like that, but there was a real reluctance to look at anything in addition to the $500,000.
And then my second question is it appropriate, again, I'm new on council, but would it be appropriate for us to pass a resolution in support of this, or is that not something that's generally done?
Well, I mean, I suppose that it's something that could be considered, but that would be for a later meeting and not right at this moment.
Mr. President? Yeah, due to the timing, we're probably not going to have a delayed election. At least I hope not.
Not too.
Yeah. One of the things that I've noticed throughout the decades of being a Bowling Green resident is how impressed I am that we do have a very generous community that supports levies such as the health levy, libraries. We are really generous when it comes to this, and I would hope that the citizens would do what they do so well, and that is continue to support levies such as this in the library.
I hope so too, Bill. Anything else for me?
All right. Well, thank you very much for updating us on your efforts. Who do we have next?
The next person is Ruth Babel Smith.
Okay. Please approach the microphone and state your name and let everyone know you live on South Main Street.
Good evening. I'm Ruth Babel Smith, 628 South Main Street, Bowling Green, Ohio. And before anybody asks, yes, we're behind on Halloween. Be patient, please. Seriously, though, the reason why I'm here tonight is, as I'm sure everybody is aware, I am running for sheriff again this year. And I cannot do that in good conscience without coming before City Council and the people of Bowling Green and thanking them for their tremendous support back in 2016. That was absolutely awesome. In that regard, my brief and stump speech, I'll call it. Whereas the city has a fantastic police department and you don't truly need our assistance unless requested, I'm just here to let you know that, yes, the sheriff's office would continue to provide support as requested to the city of Bowling Green. I am also a proponent of participating with, Andy was bouncing there for a second, of participating with the Not in Our Town group here in Bowling Green. I've interacted with several of those individuals. I think they're fantastic people, very, very good to work with. And I want to make sure that we have that strong bond there so that we can try to dispense with some of the negativity that's out there in our world right now. Bowling Green is blessed, Wood County is blessed that we really haven't had to experience that, knock on wood. Hope that continues. But I am running for sheriff, and I'm just here to let you know that I am out there. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's all.
That is all? Okay, which brings us to the introduction of new legislation.
Mr. President,
Mr. Robinette.
from the Finance Committee, I have two ordinances. One, an ordinance providing supplemental appropriations for the current expenses and other expenditures of the city of Bowling Green, Ohio during the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2020 and ending December 31st, 2020. And second, an ordinance amending and adopting section 35.70 of the codified ordinances of the city of Bowling Green, Ohio regarding city fees and fees charged for services.
Mr. President,
Ms. Phipps?
I have two resolutions from the Planning, Zoning, and Economic Development Committee. The first is a resolution implementing sections 3735.65 through 3735.70 of the Ohio Revised Code, establishing and describing the boundaries of the Bowling Green Community Reinvestment Area number 7 in the city of Bowling Green and designating a housing officer to administer this program. And the second is a resolution implementing sections 3735.65 through 3735.70 of the Ohio Revised Code, establishing and describing the boundaries of the Bowling Green Community Reinvestment Area number 8 in the city of Bowling Green and designating a housing officer to administer this program.
Okay, thank you very much. Official reports, Mr. Mayor.
Good evening, everyone. I really just have one item this evening. I wanted to make you and everyone aware of an event that is being coordinated by the City of Bowling Green Human Relations Commission in partnership with Bowling Green State University and Not in Our Town. This is an event that I'm really excited about. What is being organized is a Community Reads event that is going to be a virtual event that's going to take place in 3 different sessions beginning on November 9th, December 7th, and January 11th. And the book that's going to be the subject of discussion is a book called So You Want to Talk About Race by Ijoma Oluo. I'm really excited about this event in our community. I think that, first of all, I'm thankful for the leadership that's being shown by the Human Relations Commission and also the participation of our community partners. But I think that it's important that we as a community are having these type of conversations. It's consistent with our stated goals of finding ways that we can listen, we can learn, we can begin to understand all of the members of our community in an effort to become better friends and better neighbors. So I wanted to make the information available. The registration process is still being developed, but it will likely be an online registration that you'll be able to do by, I think, visiting the city's website. But that information will be shared very soon. But again, just wanted to make you aware of that in hopes that you all consider participating, because I certainly think it will be beneficial. That is my report, unless you have any questions for me.
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Harold.
I have a comment and a compliment. The comment is I just a week or two ago finished the book and going through reading, highlighting, and it is a book I would recommend if for no other reason than it gives a perspective that perhaps we're just simply not used to. And the compliment is to compliment you, Mr. Mayor. You have given funds to pay for a number of the books. And so I wanted to compliment you and let the public know that this is one of the ways that you're contributing to the community.
Thank you, Bill. Any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, are there copies available at the library like there oftentimes are for community reads?
John, I'm really not sure exactly the details of the availability of the book. There's still an ongoing discussion about how we can get a sufficient number of copies of the books. There's also some talk about the way that the book could be accessed electronically. So I do know that there has been discussion that has included the library, and they are actively assisting efforts to make sure that we have enough copies available for everyone. But again, that'll be a detail that should be forthcoming soon.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the mayor? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. I saw Chief Hetrick here earlier. Is he out in the hall or? Chief, could you come in here for a second? Hey, I wanted to make a couple of comments. I didn't know you were going to be here tonight, so I was just going to share them with the mayor. But a couple of things I wanted to say. One is kind of a general thing, and the second is a specific thing. The general thing that I would like for you to share with your officers is when we looked at the mask ordinance earlier in the year, you gave me some very good feedback on that. And I just want to say how much I appreciate the fact that you and your officers have conducted themselves in such a professional manner with regard to enforcement of the mask thing, making themselves available, not only in an enforcement role, but in an educational role. When we talked about it, you said that you would rather enforce a Bowling Green law than a statewide governor's order.
Correct.
And I think that we have benefited from that as a community. I know a lot of us spend a lot of time at home right now, and we don't really venture out into the world outside of Bowling Green. But I've had the opportunity to speak with people in other communities. And the mask wearing in places like Putnam County or Napoleon or, Marion, various places that I've spoken to people is at best 50% out in public. And here in town, I think our major concern is whether someone's wearing it properly or not, and not whether they're wearing it at all. And I think that you and your officers have been instrumental in keeping Bowling Green safe. We knew we were going to have problems when the students returned and our population doubled. And we had people coming in from not only all over the state, but also all over the country. And I can't help but think that the work that you guys have done have kept this from becoming a disastrous situation. So please thank them from me for that. The second thing is more specific. Last Tuesday, and just when you think things can't get any worse, there was the story of the gentleman having his hand-pedaled bicycle stolen. And if nothing else, through this whole thing, we've sort of taken comfort in the fact that, people behave in a generous way towards one another in a crisis situation. And so it was kind of a gut punch seeing that story that his hand-pedaled bike had been stolen. And then I read about, the work you guys did reaching out on social media. And it seems, if I understand correctly, within 48 hours, you guys had recovered his bike.
Yes.
And so that's not only a testimony to you guys, but also to the people that contributed tips to help you do that. So
Absolutely. It was a community-wide effort,
Right.
honestly.
But,
And that's-
quite often community efforts require leadership and organization. So I thank you guys for that. So that's just what I wanted to say. It was a couple comments. And please share with all of your officers that they're doing an excellent job. I'm very proud.
Thank you. I will, definitely.
Okay.
Chief.
Municipal Administrator. Ms. Treader.
Good evening. I would like to request that council please consider going into an executive session prior to the reading of your legislation this evening. The purpose is to discuss a collective bargaining agreement, and we would anticipate that legislation may be coming out of that executive session. Brian Kraft, our Public Works Director, is not here as we continue to try to keep the council chamber as empty as possible for crowding reasons. But we do want to pass along that October brush collection information is now being collected from our citizens. They can call, and we also have an online registration, and that will be open until October, I didn't write it down. Joe, thank you, 14th, October 14th. Please call or sign up online prior to that date. Again, we do that. We have a sign up for efficiency's sake so that we're not driving vehicles down streets that don't need to be driven down, so that we can deploy an effective route and be sustainable with our resources. And that completes my report, subject to your questions.
Are there any questions for Ms. Treader?
Yeah, yes, Mr. President. It's been a couple of months now since we approved the Gateway Zoning District legislation, and I'm just wondering, it would seem that it's probably a good time to start planning for some type of marketing effort. And I just wondered if any thoughts gone into that, or if we need to talk to Rachel about convening the planning committee to do some research, or what are your thoughts on that?
So in fact, Heather Saylor, our planning director, sent letters to those where the area is targeted, offering, as we did when we moved to B5, that they could apply for rezoning free of charge. That's a strategy we used with B5, and it was effective to encourage people to get into that zoning. Last I heard, we had one property owner so far make that petition. So we will need to follow up with the others, and certainly, as you said, maybe that's a topic of discussion. I'll talk with Heather about a strategy to follow up with those property owners, because they are ones that, I don't know how many years ago we moved them to B5. They may be wondering a little bit about why they're getting another request for that area, but perhaps talking with somebody and understanding the benefit to their properties may be worthwhile. The hope would be to bring several of them together to the Planning Commission as a petition for rezoning in the area.
All right. And in addition to that, though, the other aspect of marketing I was talking about too is outside the city, positioning the property for a developer.
Mhm.
That's
We
a
haven't
I know that's a complicated long-term process. I'm just wondering if it's time to start at least developing a plan for how to approach that
Mhm.
issue.
Yes, I would concur that it's time to start that plan, and we don't, as of yet, have a strategy.
Okay. Well, then I would just turn and say, maybe Rachel, maybe at some point in the near future, that might be something the planning committee might want to take up and develop it. Just an idea.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Lori.
One minor clarification, you need to call in your brush by October 12th. Joe just let me a note there. I was put on the spot, he put it, and then he was on the spot. So October
Okay.
12th, please.
All right.
Is that the last pickup of the year then, Lori?
The last brush pickup, that is correct.
Thank you.
All right. I'm guessing that the rest of city staff is keeping us all safe by staying away, except for Mr. Marsh.
That is correct. And then the ones that we will have come in for the executive session.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Ms. Treader? All right. Thank you very much. Which takes us to City Attorney Mike Marsh. All right. Any questions for Mr. Marsh?
Mr. President, I would like to clarify that Mike's being here is helping.
Okay, I stand corrected. All right, well, then that would end official reports, which will bring us to council committee reports. Are there any council committee reports this evening?
Mr. President,
Mr. Harold?
I have 3 items. First, just to let council know that there is a sidewalk commission meeting that is scheduled for Tuesday, October 13th at 6 o'clock. So Tuesday, October 13th at 6 o'clock here. And the setup will be very similar to our council meeting, where there will be a Zoom component and public meeting. Also, as I mentioned at the last council meeting, there is a Transportation and Safety Committee meeting scheduled for Monday, November 2nd at 6:30. So a month before council meeting on November 2nd at 6:30. And then there was a request for a Transportation and Safety Committee meeting for also Tuesday, October 13th. And there was some question as to whether to have it before the Sidewalk Commission meeting or after. And I think I would prefer, if possible, to have it before, because I don't know how long the Sidewalk Commission meeting will go. So if that is acceptable to you, Mr. President, we would have it at 5:30 on Tuesday, October 13th, to end a little bit before 6. If we need more time, we can maybe discuss the possibility of having it afterwards. But if I think that the topic, and please, Lori or Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the topics would be to make a decision on Share Rose, since we're getting pretty late in the season. Is that, am I understanding that correctly? Okay.
So do we think half an hour would be an adequate amount of time? 45 minutes? All right, let's make it 5:15. How's that?
5:15 on Tuesday, October 13th.
Mr. Harold, what is the topic for discussion of your November 2nd meeting?
The number 2nd, the agenda is yet to be determined, but I would imagine that it would include perhaps some of what transpires at the Sidewalk Commission meeting. And then also, there was some, part of the impetus for the meeting was the Share Road decision, but we have to make that quicker because of the impending cold weather. So, and what I will do is I'll have a better idea on the Transportation and Safety Committee meeting on the 13th. So I might be able to better give an idea of what will be at that meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any other council committee reports? No? Okay, in that case, I would like to suggest that it's time for us to again discuss the licensing and registration of rental properties, which was half completed and then put on hold because of COVID earlier this year. What I would like to do is have a council committee of the whole meet on a Saturday so that it's not backed up against anything else, and we can complete our discussion hopefully in one session. I'm looking at Saturday, the 24th, Saturday, the 31st, or Saturday, November 7th. I'm not going to ask for a commitment from anybody right now, but I would like to know at some time, communicate with me over the next week, which dates do not work for you or which dates are best for you. And then if you would rather have a before lunch meeting or an after lunch meeting. Two items that I would like you to take into consideration prior to this meeting. We received information from the administration, and I would like this to be sort of our reference document as we enter into this discussion. I would like us all to use this document so that we're all on the same page and coming from the same origin point. If you don't have this, I believe it was sent out back in March or April. If you don't have it, let me know and we'll get a copy of that for you. And then also the Planning Commission, when they reviewed this quite extensively, put together binders for us all that contained information. So if you don't have one of these, let me know, and we'll get one of these to you. But as you're considering which date works best, take into consideration that when you show up, I expect you to all be experts on this. And I expect you to all have laid out what your ideas are so that we can share those ideas with one another and come to some collective decisions. And then we can forward that on to Mr. Marsh, who can put it in a bona fide legal document for us.
Mr. President,
Mr. Harold.
2 points. First, if it'd be possible to resend what Mark's referring to as far as the administration document, would appreciate it. And then second, you said planning commission. Are you referring to the?
Oh, community
prod-
improvement, I'm sorry.
Okay, then, yeah, I would wholeheartedly recommend that the report that the Community Improvement Committee worked on so extensively be one of the primary, since we've already gone through quite a bit of it, primary document from which we work. And then, of course, the very extensive binder that Neocles put together would provide the supplemental materials for a more in-depth, but it would be a shame to not take advantage of what the Community Improvement Committee actually did come up with.
Well, I thought that was included in the binder.
It may be, but I'd hate for it to get lost with all the other pages.
All right. Agreed. That document also should be taken into consideration.
Oh, thank you, Bill. And the document from the administration is the suggested legislation.
That's just where I want to start as a jumping.
But that
off.
is what you're
Right.
you're showing.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, so please, everybody get with me sometime in the next week and let me know which date and what time of day, early or later in the day, you would like to meet.
Oh, Mr. President?
Yes.
Just one more point. The documentation the administration put together, was that prior to the recommendations from the Community Improvement Committee? Because I believe we looked at a document. I want to make sure it's the same
I
document.
think it's the same
It
document.
is,
Okay,
Bill.
so that was generated. The Community Improvement Committee took that as part of what we deliberated on, and then using that as a possible path forward, we then refined it. So later, more refined in the process from what the administration provided is what the Community Improvement Committee came up with. So I would humbly submit that perhaps the document to work from would be the Community Improvement Committee's recommendation to council and have reference to the administration's report. Otherwise, it's almost like all the work we did becomes secondary.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say that it's secondary. I would like to consider all of the documents. The three of you were engaged in this with your sleeves rolled up. Not all council members were engaged in the process or attended all of the meetings that you guys
So there were
did.
a lot of meetings.
Right. So, I'm fine with using both of the documents,
Okay.
but, the important thing is I want everyone to look at all of the material. I want people to consider what the original charge of the committee was, and to make suggestions that take into consideration the recommendation of the administration, the advice of the Community Improvement Committee, and the original charge as to what parameters there should be.
Yes,
So-
and just for reference, the Community Improvement Committee's report, we painstakingly went over every page, does at the very beginning give the charge that you gave to the committee. So that would be probably a good starting point to say, well, what is it we're trying to accomplish?
Well, and it's been since, May or June, so there's a great deal of refreshing to go on in my mind. I know I've had a lot of water under my bridge since then, so.
Mr. President, yeah, I think it was April was the last meeting. It's a lot's happened since then. Really glad to hear the process resuming, and I really appreciate your comments tonight, Bill. Thank you very much.
Okay, so if there is no more in the way of council committee reports, at this time, I would like to go into executive session to discuss the collective bargaining issue. Council will take action after the executive session, as we have yet to read through legislation. So if you could please give us the room briefly for an executive session, we'll be
I need a
back with you.
motion and I need a second, and we need to call the roll.
Okay,
So moved.
Second.
second, moved and seconded. Kay, could you call the roll?
Hollenbaugh,
Yes.
Leontis,
Yes.
Phipps,
Yes.
Robinette.
Yes.
Roland,
Yes.
Zanfordino,
Yes.
Harold.
Yes.
All right, motion carries.